Hello, Paige. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are.
I think that's the greatest thing about dealing with digital assets globally is we are dealing with people all over the world.
Definitely. Everyone everyone is waking up somewhere in the world and everyone is sleeping somewhere in the world, and being online all the time just unites us together in a way or
And
another.
baby, with all the stuff you're doing in crypto and tokens and Web3, I mean, you can't really go to sleep. I mean, because tokens are trading all the time. Trends are coming up at 2 in the morning. When I bought one of my first Web3 domains in 2022, literally they were available at 3 a.m. and by 1 p.m. they were sold. You know what I mean? And so I think you've seen how you have to almost watch it 24 hours. A lot of us in the developed countries were used to the stock market opening at a certain time, and then it closes and everyone goes and has dinner, and then they relax, and then nothing happens till the next morning. But right, it's not like that in Web3, is it?
It's it's cut in stone. It's all the time. There is no mercy.
And sometimes that means that ideas exhaust themselves if they don't have the staying power to last. You know what I mean? Because if they have a decline in popularity overnight, then it's almost like they have to reprove themselves the next morning. You know what I mean? If they don't have a good enough plan to keep that demand going.
Definitely. It's all about the plan. It's There are a lot of things that go into it. Did you see the London Domain Summit?
I did. I thought that Helmets did a fantastic job. They were speaking of the London Domain Summit 2-day conference, and it's really the vision of a man named Helmets for Host Maria, and I've done podcasts with him. And he really just wanted to create a spot for community there. And this is his second show in London, and he really put his heart into it. So I really congratulate him for what he did there.
That's amazing. Has there been any other Web3 brands there?
I
Web3
don't think so. I
domains?
know Freename presented there on the second day and was able to talk to people at the booth and things like that. And again, we're just kind of chit chatting, everybody, because the link for the podcast goes live, but then we know different people are joining on different platforms and everybody. So this is kind of the little pre-show before we get down to business. But yes, Eleonora and Feder were both there for the presentation at London Domain Summit. And I think that the thing about Freename and really all Web3 domains, because I'll talk generically, is you want to put them into a box. You want to say, oh, they're like this. You want to say, oh, they're like this. You want to say, oh, I understand them. Oh, I heard something about them. But I want to encourage people, it's going to take you maybe 2 or 3 times listening to really understand the differences between the traditional domain names and Web3. And the first question you have to decide is it worth it? And maybe it's not for you. Maybe it's not for everybody. But I think you should at least ask yourself, did I understand Web3 domains? Did I understand Freename to say that I didn't like it? And I have no problem dealing with skeptics that have problems with Web3 domains. I don't feel like I overrepresent them. I don't feel like I underrepresent them. I feel like you have to understand what they are to then put them in their place against other choices. But at least I would encourage you to say, did you really understand what they are before you made your big statement that they're terrible or you let someone influence you?
And that's why we say Dior a lot. But I just want to say again, everyone who did not start, just make sure to join our Telegram channel. The link will be in the comment, and something later will be announced. And for now, let's introduce our best host, one of the amazing person we have here, Paige Howe. Welcome everyone to another live broadcast. This will be live streamed through YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I'm guessing Twitter or X, however you call it. And if you're seeing this later on, don't worry. We're always there for you. We're always there on the Telegram community chat. And if you don't know about page Howe. He's a well-known domain investor who made more than $2 million selling two domains over a decade ago. So he's also Freename's esteemed advisor, amazing person, and I love how we have "I love all domains" under your tagline. Perfect.
I do. So I think the reason that I've enjoyed working with Freename has been the enthusiasm. You can tell from Beba, the energy that they bring, and that's something that's been missing in domains. The ICANN domain world is about control. It's about a bureaucracy. It's about slow moving, and that's good for the public route. That's good to be fair to everybody in every country, in every socioeconomic status. The public internet route has to work for everybody. But does that mean that we can't have exciting new projects come up? And if they work, let them work. And if they don't, they'll die out. And I guess that's the core of what I want to share with everybody is there doesn't have to be one winner ICANN or one loser ICANN or one winner Web3 domains or one loser Web3 domains. I do say with some conviction that right now ICANN domains represent what most people think about when they think about domain names, and that's good. And Web3 is a new thing. But over the next 3 to 5 years, will the existing plan reduce in its dominance? And I would say yes. And will the new plans and schemes and apps and Web3 systems have some place in the market that they find? And I would say yes. Now, what that level is, I don't know. But for me, when I put on my Web3 domains hat, I'm thinking about new, innovation, decentralized, lack of control, fast action. I can buy a TLD today, be selling it tomorrow, build a community by next Thursday, get my community introduced through social media, add to my community, make money selling domains right now.
I love
and in
that.
the ICANN world, it's a controlled environment. So when you do get your TLD from ICANN in this next round of 2023, you then have this sense that you've been given a monopoly, a license to have one of the few 2,000 to 5,000 TLDs on the public internet. And if that's what you want that strength to be able to make people buy your product because you have the ICANN TLD and you have $1 million, that's probably your best bet. But if you're hungry, aggressive, you have the time and energy to build your own community, why should you have to wait? Why should you have to pay? And why should you have to be controlled by something when it's your community you want to build? And that's the essence of what I want to talk about today is Web3 domains don't have the type of acceptance or volume to give them value. .com domains do. I can pretty much tell you within $10,000 if a domain name is worth 5, 20, 50, 100,000, a million, or 10 million. There's an existing marketplace for .com domain names. There's an existing way to value them. And if you have money and you want to buy things and you can buy them for less than they're worth and sell them, you want to be in the .com world. But if you have energy and passion and can build a community, you might be able to find some success in Web3 domains. So you're really buying them for a different purpose. Anyway, Bev, I could talk all day about it, but what else can I share with everybody?
I love how you divided them both, like whose personality each one is fit for. But you also cut to the chase. And the question I wanted to ask you to start with is, what is ICANN and what does it mean, the ICANN round?
Well, I'm going to go all the way back to the dinosaurs and say, how did the internet start? And for those of you that this is old hat for, great. But I don't think a lot of people understand the beginnings. And if you don't understand the beginnings, to use a Web3 word, you won't understand the fork that happened where ICANN became the dominant decider of who gets TLDs. That was kind of a fork in this idea of the whole internet. The internet started with someone like me having a computer connected to the internet, and Beba could be where she is, and I could send her a message, and she could send me a message, and I could access the resources on her computer. She could access the resources on mine. And we would each have our little black book. And I would say on it that Beba's computer is 161.142.131.122. And she would have her little book, and she would say, Paige, So we would each have our little nicknames in our own little black book of people's addresses. And we might write a little program that said, when I say go to Beba's computer, then it would convert my name for you, Beba, with the number of your computer. So I wouldn't have to remember the number of your computer. I could just remember my nickname. So, I mean, that is at the core what a domain name is. It's a natural language word in any language that ties together the digital address or the digital wallet address or some bit of digital information that would be too difficult to remember. So why not have a nickname for it? And based upon the nickname's power and prestige and ease of remembrance, it would be great to have a short nickname. But here's what happened. How could everybody have their own little black book of nicknames? I would call your computer one thing and someone else may call it Beba Beba, you know what I mean, or something like that. And so if I said to them, go to Beba, they say, well, I don't know what that is. So when they started the internet and they said, we need to have a naming system under this thing called the domain name system that everybody can use. And I think it's been great for the internet in the past 30 years that it grew with one system, this ICANN public root system. And it was one place that everyone used to find out where a domain name got pointed. And it will always be here. It's what we're talking on now. We're talking on StreamYard.com or LinkedIn.com or something.org or something.it or something, you know what I mean? So it will always be there. But now that we're 30 years in, shouldn't there be other options? Shouldn't there be alternatives where if I decide that I want to call my web space .verse, and there isn't a .verse in the ICANN system, then I don't get to play. I don't get a license to be on the domain name system that every computer uses. But through Freename, I can at least have people get .verse domain names. And if they download our Chrome extension, which is like an app, which people use all the time in billions of cases around the world, then they can all of a sudden see my .verse domain names. So in the ICANN world, they're in control of this main public root, and they decide when and where new top-level domains are introduced. But they don't control every computer in the world. They don't control every idea in the world. True. Since they've been in existence, we've seen Google, a search engine, dominate the way most people search the internet, and that has nothing to do with ICANN. We've seen texting come about, where people communicate and send links through their phones on text every day, and that has nothing to do with ICANN. We've seen apps like WhatsApp and Telegram. We've seen social media networks. We've seen all this stuff happen on top of the existing internet. And I think if you think about Web3 domains as something like that, I'm not trying to take over ICANN. I'm not trying to make them do anything. But we should be able to innovate, and we should be able to offer TLDs that aren't offered already. So ICANN has been given the role. They're a California, United States nonprofit corporation. The US government said we shouldn't be the ones to control it. We're going to give the power to this group. And it's supposed to be a multi-stakeholder representing the needs of everybody that makes decisions from a bottom-up process, and then they make decisions. But what I've seen in 20 years of going to ICANN meetings is that their number one goal is to protect ICANN, that they're mostly represented by the registries and the registrars that are already inside ICANN, and they are scared to death of anything new. Just like hotels were scared of Airbnb, and taxi services were scared of Uber, and cable television was scared of Netflix. They want to control something, and they don't want anyone to build anything that's not in their control. So that's why they're going to come out and they're going to call Web3 Mount Gox, and they're going to call it the dark web, and they're going to say, oh, it's full of trademark people. But all that stuff's on the existing internet. But anyway, back to your question. ICANN is the body that decides when to give out new top-level domains like .com. There's currently about 2,000. They want to open up a new round in 2026 to give out more. The application fee should be between $200,000 and $300,000. Plus, you need consultants to help you do your application. And once you get it, you have to offer your TLD through all the registrars, which are like the dealerships, the distribution way for domains. You have to have deals with each one of them, which means you may have to pay more for that. And you have to deal with the pre-existing regulatory regime having to do with trademarks, having to do with disputes and things like that. So it's a very controlled thing. But if you get one, then you're on this special list of top-level domains that right now all the browsers and computers use, and that's what they call the internet. Web3 is not on that list. So you can have the energy and creativity and innovation, but you got to build your community on your own, or you can have the monopoly from the quasi-government. And that's really the friction that we'll see in the next 2 to 3 years.
That's amazing. And I'm guessing you have to be in the States to get the domain registered with ICANN, right?
Yeah, you have. Now, the reason that it's going to take 3 years is ICANN has to be fair, which is a worthy goal. In other words, they want to make sure that, for instance, when the internet naming system started, all the countries had 2-letter codes. And those of you that have names that end in UK or AU or IT or CN for China, that's the way most people were supposed to get their names. Now, the .us was a very complicated system. You had to get your state. I live in Tennessee. You had to get tn.us, and then you had to get a co. So I would be pagehow.co.tn.us. And because of that, you saw a lot of America, which at the time had a postal system, everyone had credit cards. They kind of just jumped and went for .com. You know what I mean? And so you had even just the little business inside a small town getting a .com, whereas originally it was supposed to be the one TLD for global companies. Reason I say that is that now when ICANN gives out new ones, they have to be fair to a small company in a country in Africa or Germany or Eastern Europe or Asia or Central America or North America. They have to say, did we expose everybody who could want to have a top-level domain name? Did we get the word out? Did we educate them on the timeline? Were they able to have the time to put together their consultants and their team to make application? And was that application fair to everybody? So that's what they're doing over the next couple of years. Are the processes fair? Have we disclosed them and gotten the information out to everybody? And then they have a couple of things that they're doing where you're going to be able to be a certified back-end provider. And that's going to take a while to set up the rules for that. So that's the process they're going about to add new names to this public, has to work for everyone, ICANN, what's called the A route. But I think what you're going to see is, I don't want to wait for that. I want to see if my idea is going to work. And so you tell me that I don't get entry into the existing domain name system with my .verse. Okay, but at least I can start today. And if I own .verse, but if I use the Freename platform, everyone who downloads the Freename plugin, when they type in page.verse into their browser, they're going to see my domain name system. Because all we've done is we've said, if you type in something into the browser bar, if it's in the ICANN TLDs, return the same result that you've always returned. But if it's not, go look at the Freename list of top-level domain names, and the owner of that domain name in the Freename system will have put where the content is that you're supposed to see at page.verse. And if you think about this thing of looking up a piece of information and then having a return of that information, that sets up perfectly for the blockchain. The blockchain holds the data in a decentralized ways. It's minted, right? It's minted to the blockchain. And until an approved person changes the data, that data is on the blockchain of what content should be returned when that domain name is entered. And so that's where the Web3 application has really been great for domain names, because it's just this simple lookup. Now, in the ICANN world for .com, this company VeriSign, they're worth $6 billion for just doing that simple lookup and managing the simple .com domain names. And I think what you've seen is a system in the Web3 world where they say, no, we don't need that. We can just do it on the blockchain. It doesn't cost that much. And anybody and everybody can have their new top-level domain. It won't work everywhere. But as long as you have to build your own community and you have to advertise and you have to engage people on social media, just have them download the plugin. So we could do this live stream on livestream.page or .verse. We could do that today. And all we would do on social media is we would say, get ready for the live stream. It's coming next Thursday on page.verse. If you don't already have the Freename plugin, download it now and you'll be able to see everything on page.verse. Now, how tough is that? That's not that tough. That's not that tough. Now, you're right. It's not the same as getting a monopoly where you're on every computer. I totally agree with that. But I can be in business today. And if you look at our Telegram channel with our VIPs and the people that are building communities right now, they're grabbing hold of their business. They're grabbing hold of their brand. They're building it. They're not asking other people. You know what I mean? They're using it right now to either help their existing company, create something new, or yes, there is some speculation. Do your own research, mind your own bag. But if you think that this has got a chance and you can pick what people may want to pay later more for, then that's the speculation that happens. But realize clearly that you're in Web3, you're in this new space. Anyway, I could talk about it forever, babe. Let me know if I've got off track.
I think this is a good time as well to mention that we've got a special code for everyone who's here on the space. I'm used to calling it a space because of Twitter Spaces, but page 30, if you go use that code right now when purchasing a Freename domain, you'll get 30% off. It's only available for this moment of time with the live stream and an hour ahead after it. So make sure to grab it before it goes. Okay.
I love it. And I want you to hear my excitement about this opportunity. And I've invested in the other Web3 spaces, Unstoppable and ENS and Handshake. You know, and you can pick which one you want to be in. But I think I'm excited about it, but I'm not trying to pitch you on something. You should understand clearly what it is. And then you should understand clearly how you can use it to achieve your objectives. But try to understand it. And I'll give you the basics of what Freename does. You can buy a domain name at Freename, which means you can buy something to the left of the dot and something to the right of the dot in a TLD that's already owned by Freename or someone else. .metaverse is one. I could be pagehow.metaverse. And tomorrow I could build my own metaverse. And if people download the plugin, they can go to pagehow.metaverse. And that domain name would probably cost me about 10 or 20 bucks. With the coupon, it would be 30% less. So that's buying a domain name, no renewals. You pay one time. You're not having to pay every year for the right to possibly own something. You pay one time. So that's
you
buying.
read my mind.
What's that?
You read my mind. The next question was going to be, what is a Web3 domain? And you just continue on.
So that's what you're buying. So I would be buying pagehow.metaverse. I would mint that to my wallet, which would show that my wallet owns pagehow.metaverse. And there's over 100 integrations that Freename has partnered with other companies for, where they can confirm that pagehow.metaverse is owned by this wallet on the blockchain, minted. And that's where the Web3 world is. They don't even care about ICANN. ICANN doesn't even know that Web3 exists. Web3 doesn't care about ICANN because they're building conference solutions, gaming solutions, ways to send cryptocurrency among each other. What are some of the other partnerships we've done? Web3 email. What's that? Yeah, Web3 directories. Whatever you can do, you're tying someone's identity, because I'll tell you that the existing ICANN system has lost its ability to be my identity. And the reason I know that is if I use an email address to log in to almost any application now, I've got to have them text me a code to prove that my email address is mine. And so they need this texting more along with the existing domain name system. So I think what you're going to see is when you have a digital identity, one of the options in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be have a Web3 domain name, which connects completely different, not through the ICANN system, to show your identity. So that's a different world. ICANN doesn't understand it. They want to pretend like it doesn't exist. But But a lot of the applications and the reasons people are buying Web3 domain names, if you're not in Web3, you won't even know that there's a need to have them. But anyway, that's the first thing you can buy at Freename as a domain name, pagehow.metaverse. Second thing you can do, and this is what the Web2 world has never allowed individuals to do, is you can own your own top-level domain name. I bought .beverly Hills about a month ago. So I am .beverly Hills. And if you want to buy a domain name, either shop.beverly Hills or store.beverly Hills or homes.beverly Hills, I'll make money each time someone buys a domain name on my .beverly Hills. So I buy .beverly Hills. It was a premium name. The lowest names are about $79. .beverly Hills was about $400. I pay that. Maybe I have a coupon to save 30%, huh? Then I mint it, and I tell the Freename system that that's my .beverly Hills, and then I buy what's called the revenue program, which is an extra $50. You can use the coupon code on the revenue program. And then I'm set up where when people buy a domain name in my system, I get the revenue from it. And I don't have any renewals on .beverly Hills. Now, if you have an ICANN TLD, not only do you have to pay $500,000 to $1 million to get it, but you've got a minimum fee you've got to pay every year of $20,000 to $25,000. Plus, you've got to collect 18 cents per name per year that goes right back to ICANN. Now you can understand why ICANN doesn't like Web3 TLDs. They're not getting their 18 cents per name per year that they're getting on regular TLDs. So anyway, all that to be said, you can buy a domain name on the Freename platform, or you can buy your own TLD. And then I would encourage you with the new reseller pages with the Freename system. And what would happen, the way the Freename system works is if you sell a domain name, you get half the revenue. They'll actually give you a pre-formatted page that I can have for my .beverly Hills, where I can send people to an existing Web2 page that works on every computer that lets people buy a .beverly Hills domain name that'll then work on all the Freename connected computers. So this is why when you have Freename, a company of 20 plus people with 100 integrations, well-funded, been going, in Web3 time, a long time, they're doing some of the work for you so that I don't have to go build my own little Chrome extension. I don't have to build my own little reseller page. I don't have to go get partnership deals with Solana, with other coins, with other wallets, right? They've already done that lifting on behalf of everybody. So I think that's the mix that people want to say, oh, it's not purely decentralized. That's okay, because I need help. I need Freename to do some of the heavy lifting for me to then go and be the artist, the creative that runs my own TLD. But I don't have to be the technical person to know how to do each extension, right, babe? I would never even be able to get started.
So many people forget that not everyone is a techie, not everyone is able to program their smart contract in the way they want. And this is such an important point you mentioned. Also, there's a point you mentioned earlier that ties into what is a Web3 domain. One of the ways, just like the beginning of the internet, how a domain is shortening to the long extension with the crypto wallets, 0x, blah, blah, and there's a lot of numbers. A domain just pieces this together and shows the domain, shows the name you want it to show. And I love that about it as well.
Absolutely. And I think, .eth has probably been the best one because, like I can give someone one of my names as wallet55.eth. Well, I don't really have to repeat that. They're not going to say, how do you spell wallet? Or what is 55? They know it's a number, 55, wallet 55. So there is some value for me to giving out an easy to remember name. If they know that I'm pagehow.metaverse, or if I'm pagehow.mywallet, or if I'm pagehow.iscool, then you can give that out. And even though, as you say right now, the wallet is a great representation of what that can do, the wallet won't be the last thing that's invented in Web3, right? It won't be the last solution that someone comes up with. Because remember, you've got people all over the world solving problems. You've got people all over the world coming up with Web3 applications and Web3 ideas. all over the world, no matter if you're big, small, tall, husky, man, woman, big city, little city, went to college, didn't go to college. If you can think of something and make it work and find an audience in Web3, you can go. You can go right now. And I think what Freename's doing is they're finding the better ones and saying, let us make it easy for you to use this digital identifier, this Web3 domain name, to work with these other solutions and work with these other platforms. So if you open up a free account, that's free at Freename. Like, just open up an account at freename.io. At least be in the game to get the newsletter, to maybe buy a name with a coupon, or different times there might even be an airdrop where you can get a name for free. To go in there and forward that name to an existing Web2 address, maybe your Linktree or your LinkedIn. To download the plugin, to ask someone else to download the plugin, and to ask them to type in your unique domain name. And you'll feel the power of the fact that you just created a namespace and a domain name that everyone with this plugin in the world can see. And then that's going to expand your creative ideas of what to do with it. And I think that's why it's a future-looking thing. So maybe it's time we talked about the future. But anyway, what else can I share, Beba?
We can share, before I go into that, page 30 is the coupon code again for you guys who are joining in late. And it's okay if you're watching this again and you did not catch this code. New joiners, anyone who signs up to the website, still you're new, you can get a discount code. It's a welcome code for everyone who signs up. Okay, so the next question is, how can ICANN affect Web3?
Gotcha. So everyone has always wanted to have their own top level domain at ICANN because they see .com, they see it's worth billions of dollars. 10 years ago, they sold 200 or 2,000 of these new TLDs. People paid hundreds of thousands to get them. And without doing anything, they seem to get thousands of registrations. So everyone wants the monopoly. Everyone wants the official government licensed top level domain name. And ICANN has decided to give out new ones, and that'll happen between now and 2026 is when you'll make your application, pay your fee. And then they really kind of set up a system where they never ask anybody whether we need new top-level domain names. They're just saying that we did something in 2014, and this new round is a carryover from that round. So we just need to do some tweaks, and those tweaks are what's going to take them 2 years. If some of the Web3 companies have tried to make it seem like if you buy a Web3 domain, that you're going to have some type of advantage maybe when ICANN gives out their top-level domain names. Like if I bought .verse on Freename, that, oh, what's going to happen when ICANN comes out? And right now people would say, well, why would you want to own one in Web3 if ICANN's going to give one out that's going to be on every computer? And if you are sure that that's going to be the future, then you've got your answer. You wouldn't want to do one. If you're going to speculate in Web3, I would speculate in the areas of domain names that ICANN won't give out. And there's a lot of those areas. They won't give out one and two character top-level domain names. They won't give out emoji top-level domain names. They won't give out some top-level domain names that represent geographic areas without that geographic area approving it. So you might have a better chance of being successful in Web3 with some of the areas of domain names that ICANN probably won't give out. They can change their mind whenever they want. But right now, that would be 1 and 2 character top-level domain names, emojis, many geographic terms, and also words that have both alpha and numbers. So for instance, if you wanted to have Web 3.0 and be .web 3.0, as of now, ICANN has decided they're not going to give out top-level domain names with numbers and letters. So if you think you know the future, you don't want to own something that ICANN's going to give out. You have to say, will someone pay $1 million for that 2 years from now? So there might be some that people will, some that people won't. And you have to assume that they are going to give out one because they're going to act like Web3 doesn't exist, okay? So I don't think that buying a top-level domain name to stop ICANN or make ICANN give it to you is a good strategy. That being said, if you build up your brand, you have 2 years to build up your brand and to be relevant. And if you're relevant 2 years from now, ICANN's going to have a decision to make. If my .verse is so big, are they going to decide to give out a .verse when hundreds of thousands of people are already using my .verse? So again, I don't think I can make ICANN not give out .verse, but I can certainly make it a difficult choice for them by being relevant. So again, if you're just doing it to cheat the system, I wouldn't try that. But hey, if you think you can do that, great. So I think ICANN TLDs will come out in 2 years. Everyone's going to want to own one. They're all going to want to pick ones that are good, but they're going to have to pick ones that are worth investing $1 million in. And the reason I think that's going to be challenging is of the 1,500 TLDs you can buy right now, 1/3, 500 of the existing top-level domain names that exist right now have less than 100 registrations in them. Less than 100. They haven't even launched. So it's not, in my opinion, obvious that every word is going to be worth the $1 million plus 25,000 a year to get it in 2 years. Right now, people want to speculate that they are going to be worth $1 million. So consultants especially are going to want to get people to sign up to spend the $1 million to get them. But I think the universe is going to be very small of those words that are actually going to be worth paying $1 million for or 500,000 for. The companies that have been successful so far have bought hundreds of them. They've said, we'll pay $200,000 a year for 100 of them. We'll pay 20 million. And then we don't know which one's going to be successful, but just some of them will be and some of them won't be. And that's a lot different than me building my own individual one. So how will the ICANN affect Web3? There will be new names added in 3 years to the list that's on everyone's browser. I just don't think we can say for sure what the environment's going to be in 3 years. Who's going to be the dominant browser? I think there's going to be a Web3 browser, more than just Opera and Brave and some of the Web 2.5 ones. You know what I mean? I think we might be using something different. People hate Google. People hate Microsoft. People hate Control, right? People have gone to Discord and Telegram because they don't want to be on centralized platforms. You know what I mean? They want to control their own thing. So can you really say out there what the world's going to look like in 2026? So, but yes, I think they're going to give out new ones. Now, how will Web3 affect ICANN?
First, before you answer this question, hello, Alan. Thank you for joining us, and thank you everyone who has joined us. We'll do a little Q&A bit after this, so please leave your comments. We're going to try and answer them all. Web3 is the future. Yes, Web3 definitely is the future.
And I think so. And we just don't know how much. We don't know if right now, I have 99% of my money invested in the Web 2 ICANN space. So yes, I want to be in Web 3. Yes, I want to understand it. But I have over $3 million invested in Web 2 domain names. I think they'll be here forever. I'm not worried they're going to go away. But if you want to look at Web 3 domains, it's going to make you really evaluate what a Web 2 domain is and what it's worth. You know what I mean? If you're just following along and buying because other people weren't, then learning about Web3 make you feel nervous. It's making the companies feel nervous. I saw the fear. I saw the wonder. I saw the worry that these registries and registrars who have tied their ship to ICANN, which is worthy, any threat to that gets them nervous. And I think it's because maybe they don't really understand their customer right now. And I think there's 2 generations of customers that have learned to succeed on the internet without a domain name, right? Apps, social media, and then Web3 comes along. That takes people out of it, right, Beba? I mean, it's not known out there. So if you're under 30, if you're under 40, you were never told that the ICANN domain name system is great. Now, ICANN wants you to say, well, that's why we came out with these new TLDs. They're going to be for young people. Young people
what do young people know?
Right. They don't know young people. Young people know young people. The reason I'm excited to work with Freename, it gets me connected with what young people think, what young people know. You know what I mean? And so I think that ICANN is going to go one of two ways. They're going to stay insulated, act like Web3 doesn't exist, go on doing what they're doing, which will make the rebellion, it'll make the rebels in Web3 even more successful. Or they're going to try to integrate at some point in time. But I don't think that's going to happen until 2027 or 2028. But the example that I use is I went to book a hotel room for a vacation. And I went to Expedia, which is a place that normally shows you only hotels. And they were, of course, very worried about Airbnb, which is showing you places, little crash pads is the way it started. Just, hey, crash at my house. You know what I mean? And now it's become, full rentals. Was that right? And so they
Yeah,
were
it's
at
a full
first scared
business.
of it. Yeah. But now I see that they've integrated. I can see a Marriott hotel, a Hilton hotel, and then it can say Beach View Cottage. You know what I mean? Sold through Expedia. That's somebody's Airbnb-like thing. So first they'll fight. Then we'll see who wins. And then I think we'll have integration. And I think what you'll see with Freename, I'm not going to bash any of the other ones, is a company that's trying to be slowly strong and successful in a multiple different environments. Web3 wins, Freename will still be here. Web2 stays dominant and Web3 is for small TLDs, Freename will still be here. Freename helps bring together Web2 and Web3, Freename will still be here. I think they've taken a longer term, what I call a responsible integration with Web2. That doesn't say we have to win, you know what I mean? We have to defeat ICANN, because ICANN will always be here. They're dominant. But I think the innovation is happening outside of ICANN. And I want to be in touch with that, with a company like Freename or the others, just to be in touch with that energy and that enthusiasm. Because as I say underneath my name, I love domain names. Good domain names. A domain, there are no good and bad domain names. There's domain names good relative to their cost and their prospects. And that's the way I look at them. But I love all domain names.
Preach. Like, you just, you always speak about
Well, and
really
I
great
guess
things.
for those of you who are, don't know my history, I applied for an ICANN domain name 21 years ago for .kids in the year 2021, and I didn't get it. And I was mad because they never told me why. They cheated me in the process, and there's nothing I can do about it. You couldn't even talk at an ICANN board meeting. You had to sit and listen, and you couldn't talk. And you couldn't talk to a board member. So they've used every angle they have, if you tell I'm not a big fan of ICANN, on one respect. On the other respect, they have kept the internet working for 30 years without interruption. And I give them all the credit in the world. And they have tackled some problems, or they're trying to tackle some problems that governments and the United Nations can't solve. Human trafficking, inappropriate content, bad actors. You know what I mean? They've been given the responsibility to try to solve those problems through the internet. So I give them all the credit in the world for the fact that they've gone about in a slow and steady way. But for someone like me to come in from the outside, I had to look for options. So I bought my first Web3 or alternative TLD back in 2020. I bought .mail, .kids, .sport, .golf. And it was on something called the alt route, which said that one day not everyone will use the ICANN route. And I think I should still have rights to those. For all those other companies out there that say first come, first serve, whoever the first one was to claim an alternative TLD, I'll say fine. I claimed mine in 2002. Since then, I was involved with NewNet. I was involved with different alternative naming strategies. So I've seen them all. And then in 2017 to 2019, I worked for a company called Topcoin. I was a consultant, and we created this domain token, if you can believe it, that when you bought domain names, you would get this ERC20 token. What the heck is that in 2017? In your wallet, what the heck was that? And we tried to make a go of it, and we couldn't. But that introduced me to the world of wallets and tokens and owning an asset. So domain names like to say that they're a virtual asset compared to real estate. I think Web3 domain names are a virtual asset. You know what I mean? They're not even tied to this hybrid domain name system. You just own it in a wallet. You have this thing called a wallet, which exists in the air, you know what I mean, that says you own something. So that really, a lot of that prepared me to be ready, I think, for this convergence of Web3 and domain names that's happening. And that's where I feel like I want to be an information source to investors, to corporate registrars. If you're a company out there and you're saying, should I just go get my own TLD at Freename? You can stake your flag in the ground and say you have a brand, like I have a brand, Joe Domains. I can be .joe domains, and I can say that I bought .joe domains for the specific reason of being a top-level domain in 2023. And that's establishing your right to that use case. Now you could say, but what if someone else does? What if someone else does? At least you said you did it first. And I would encourage those of you out there, corporate registrars or advisors or things like that. If you know the future, great, make your plans. But if you don't know the future, I think a reasonable option is to grab your brands, your brand in the Web3 space, maybe even trademark it yourself or through some of the services that Freename offers, to at least in 2025 and 26, say you did it in 2023 first. Now, am I telling you that that's a guarantee that that's going to work? No, I'm not an attorney. Get your own legal advice. I'm just saying, if it comes down to who is the first one to have a TLD and market it in the real world, unless you have your own platform, I think getting one in the Freename system makes a lot of sense. Or at least explore it enough to say no. Did you explore it enough to really discard it? Is the question I would ask. And if I can be a helpful information source during that process, that's the role that I try to play at Freename.
The fear of the unknown is such a strong fear, not even only with domains. When we fear something we don't know, we often take a lot of rash decisions. So doing our own research onto what we don't know will help us move on forward, will help us take better decisions, and so on. This is another point where I remind you and everyone, page 30 is a coupon code you can use right now. It's only available for 1 hour after this. So make sure to get your domains today from Freename before this runs out. Okay.
All right.
Now,
We got a good question from Matthias. Can I take that one?
sure. Yes.
All right. Will you be investing more in Web3 domains than in Web2 domains? Probably Web2 domains, because there's an existing ecosystem where I can buy a name that I think is worth 3,000 to 4,000 to maybe 100 customers. And if I can buy that for $100, that's kind of the now. You know what I mean? That's a mature business that the .coms are declining. There's less .coms now than there were a year ago. Registrations are down. Now they're only down like 0.0001%. But yeah, I want to be in a mature business with an established business model, a history of success, and customers. A lot of customers, millions of customers. So that's where I want to invest in. At the same point, there's not much I can do sometimes to make people buy my .com domain names. I just have to hope that they start a business or they start a website and they want one of my names. So in that part of my business, there's not a lot I can do to make my name sell. You know what I mean? I just have to hope that someone wants to buy what I have. So I feel like that's my big store. But where am I going to invest my time? And right now, that's the investment that you make in Web3 domain names, is your time to see what it is, to see if it's something you want to invest in. And then the money that you may invest may not be all that much. Because you may say, well, I do understand that this is something that, one, I can buy some great TLDs instead of paying $1 million for $79. You shouldn't go spend, Freename will probably kill me for saying this, you shouldn't go spend $100,000 just because you wanted to spend it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it is, though. Maybe you want to be the person who killed it in something. Okay? Do your own research, mind your own bag. But if you really think you understand this, and you really think you know where it's going to play in the future, there's a case to be made that once people understand what Web3 TLDs can be worth, that they will be priced higher, because all of a sudden you're getting something. What if you could buy a TLD for $10,000 and you could make $10,000 a year from people buying domain names in your TLDs? That's a what if. That's not a for sure. But so my investment in time right now in Web3 TLDs is probably 20-25% of my time, even if my investment in money isn't that much, because there's not much I can do about Web2. You know what I mean? It's mature. I just want to make sure my stores look good, my names are merchandised, people come in, they buy stuff each day. But I also want to be kind of a visionary that looks in the future. And the last thing I'll say, and this is maybe the most important thing I'll say to a Web2 investor out there, by understanding what Web3 domains are, by understanding what you might want to buy in a Web3 TLD or a Web3 domain name, you'll become a better Web2 investor. Because you'll ask yourself, what would I want to own as a top-level domain name? And as you think about that, and as you go through the process of what's valuable, you'll be able to learn more, I think, about domain names in general. One of the biggest things is we've moved from a world of right brain generic words, you know what I mean? Like .sofa beds. Maybe 10 years ago would be great because people would want to buy a sofa bed and they'd think .sofa beds. But now you might want to go to .crash because it's the emotion that a sofa bed gives you to crash. See what I mean? See how I think even domain names have changed as to what they represent. It's the emotion that a word emotes, maybe more than the generic meaning. And so maybe as you go into Web3, you invest a little different than you did in Web2 because of this new change. So anyway, thank you. Good question.
Something also I love about Web3 domains is emojis, because to me, and it also I view it as well with the younger generation more, emojis define a lot of things in our lives, whether it's like through texting, or like my friends and I, we used to have this thing where each of us picks a special emoji, and this is like what we use on our phones when interacting with each other, and what we put on like messages, even like things in school. What is our like logo? It's our emoji. So I think that's very interesting to see as well how it will coincide with what domains offer, especially.
And I think I've invested quite a bit in emoji Web2 domains. The other thing that emoji does, and this is where you have to think about it to understand why emoji domains are so popular, is you never say or write an emoji. You see it, you feel it, and then you respond. But it almost like it never goes through the voice box. You know what I mean? So you don't have to know if this certain face is crying with wide eyes or crying with little eyes. You just know it's the one that represents how you feel. And you know that the person you're sending it to, they know that what that feeling is that it represents. But it almost doesn't go through. And there's a lot of studies that say we process pictures faster than we do words. And so having a dot emoji TLD or having an emoji, you could be the happy face .metaverse, or you could be the lacrosse player .metaverse, or you could be the world .metaverse. It just, there's kind of a, hey, looky here aspect to it. Like in the United States, we have a lot of these marketing balloons that people in front of their business, and they have these big balloons and the arms go like this. And it's just something to get you to look. And I think a lot of times that's what your domain name is. When you're posting on social media, when someone looks at your identity on social media, you want to be able to have a wider range of something to show than the existing ICANN domains. You know what I mean? Almost like a hashtag. You want to be able to put something up there. And if that something that you put up there can also be a domain name that exists in Web3 or an emoji domain name, you know what I mean? You've told someone something about yourself. You're creative. You're exploring new ideas, right? I mean, you've shared that with them before they even know you. So yeah, I think having your own emoji, I've invested quite a lot in emoji.ws domains. And they're one of the few Web2 extensions, .ws, where you can have emojis. But it's almost like the same audience that likes emojis is more in Web3 than they are in Web2. So it's almost like they won't even find me in Web2 to get my emoji domains because they want to see it in the Web3 world. And I think that's this disconnect based upon age and generations where the registrars and the registries don't realize they lost everybody. You know what I mean? And so when these people start liking something new, they don't even understand why. They don't. Because I had so many people at the last ICANN conference tell me why I was wrong to even think about Web3, who didn't even understand the Web3 universe, why people bought it, why it was attractive. And what they really didn't understand is this rebellious nature that says, if you push me down and you tell me I have to do something, my first thought is, no, I want to do my own thing. I described ICANN to my daughter, who's helping me with social media right now. She's like, I hate ICANN. I don't even know who they are. But who are they to tell me which domain names I should be able to get? And that's not the time for me to say, well, you have to understand it's a global stakeholder body that uses bottom-up consensus to do whatever. You know what I mean? People just want to express themselves. And they're not going to be able to do that when it costs $1 million to get a TLD.
We've got a question about ICANN.
Yeah.
How often does ICANN release domains?
Right now, it's about every 10 years. They started with the system. They started with the system in the 90s. They gave out what they called a test bed in 2002. Some other ones trickled in because of litigation. Then they gave out 2,000 of them in 2014. And then now they're going to give out who knows how many in 2026. And they picture that after that, you may be able to get one at any time. You know what I mean? They may have what's called a constant state. But that idea of making them available anytime, that's supposed to go through a bottom-up consensus-making decision process. But they won't. They're just going to think up something. It could happen tomorrow. The other thing about ICANN is, even though now they say 2026, they can come out with new domains tomorrow because they don't have a CEO. So really, whoever is acting as the CEO can do whatever they want. And they're not really accountable to anybody. So they can pretty much do whatever they want. But right now they're saying it'll be 2026. So right now it's been about every 10 years. Do we really need new ones? I don't think so. I think half of all domain names that are registered today are going to be dropped in the next year, meaning people are buying them sometimes for as little as $1, and they're only holding them for 1 year. And that doesn't sound like a market that needs new supply. No one will ever be able to replace .com. It's the top. It's the leader. And if everyone thinks that they're paying $1 million to ICANN to have the next .com, I just think it's going to be hard to do. .com has earned its right to be the dominant top-level domain name. And ICANN has grown to a $400 million a year company with $400 million in the bank for the speculation around people wanting to be the next .com. But I just don't see it happening. Anyway.
Thank you, Paige. Here we've got a question. Can I sell any SLDs to buy one TLD? I don't understand. This is a technical question, but go ahead.
No, I think like say you had bought some domain names like pagehow.metaverse, or you bought like web3.metaverse, or you bought some really good words. You can sell them on OpenSea or other marketplaces and then take that money and then go back and buy another top-level domain name. So it's just a strategy, whether you want to be in domain names, which are specific identities that you're going to use, or top-level domain names, which are going to be the top level where you make money from selling domain names. So one is like the goose that keeps laying eggs, you know what I mean? And one's like the goose that you kill and eat, I guess, anyway. But so I think your strategy can be built around SLDs or TLDs.
Thank you, Paige. Did we give the question, how will Web3 affect ICANN justice?
Yeah, I think so. My answer was, it depends whether ICANN puts their head in their sand and just says that Web3 doesn't exist, la, 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 we don't know what, we don't even want, or will they try to integrate some of the things that people want in the existing system? You know, will we have a hybrid? And I just don't think that they're ready to do that yet, because they still have this one last chance to take in a bunch of money from a community that wants these TLDs the way they are now. But I think that without letting anything out of the bag, I know Freename has some plans that if they move toward integration, will make it easier for people to do that. And so we don't know the future. All you can do is position your portfolio and your time and your energy to take advantage of different scenarios. Or if you're sure you know a scenario and you want to bet 100% on it, do that. But I try to put myself in a position to be successful if ICANN puts their head in their sand, if they get smart and integrate, or if they go on their own, but there's no other choice, then I'll still be in .com. So I try to put myself in a position that it doesn't matter to me what happens. I'm going to be successful in all three. And I like the fact that Freename has hinted at doing that too.
You know, also like a lot of like smaller communities in Web3. Okay, actually, let's go into this question before I say my point. How would you appraise a handshake SLD?
A handshake SLD, wow. So I have about 50 handshake domains, and Handshake is another Web3 platform that wants to move the route that you use to find your domain names from the ICANN system to their system called HNS. And they've sold 12 million TLDs, some for as little as a penny. And you buy and sell them with their coin. Now, their coin has been tough. It's gone from 80 cents to a penny. So whatever money you make, it's subject to whatever the coin does. So I own like .nom. So I own the .nom TLD on the Handshake platform. But a second level domain in Handshake has to be so good that I'm not sure if they use an extension or if you can see them on a Chrome browser. I personally, Handshake was really popular because it came out during the pandemic. People were at home stuck, speculating on digital assets, and they went crazy. And they ramped them all up. And in 2000 and 2021, they had this land rush where everyone thought they were buying gold. And then it kind of died. And I'm not saying it's dead. It's not. It's still worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But I'm just saying I don't know if they have the same energy they did before. So I've let my Handshake SLDs drop. I'm keeping my TLDs because they don't have renewals. A Handshake SLD does. So is it going to be good enough to be worth $20 a year? I mean, I even had like Bitcoin.nom. I owned one in my own TLD, and I let that drop because I just didn't see a partner that was helping me make my domain name be more valuable. But there's a lot of other people who are more involved with the Handshake community who do think it's doing well. But for me, I'm glad I own some. But I wouldn't be renewing my Handshake SLDs. That's just me, though.
Wait, what I was going to say before we had this question is that I love that you mentioned all domains all together, because it's an important thing I see from an investment perspective to have a diversified portfolio. And so many people in a lot of communities, they stick to one niche and they don't try to like branch out. Okay, we've got another question. I don't see Handshake or ENS taking over any more than Onion.
I'm not familiar with Onion, but I mean, ENS has done a great job of making their .eth prestigious in the Web3 world. It's got some swag, you know what I mean? If I said I'm page.eth, put it on my social media, that's got a little swag. Now it's up to me to make that valuable. You know what I mean? I made a lot of money trading .eth names. But the other thing that ENS has done is you can take any domain name in the Web2 world and make it an ENS name. So I can take, like I have a lot of .xyz names. I have a lot of 4-number .xyzs. And the 4-number .eths are really popular. So I could take 1642.xyz, make that into an ENS name so it could be a wallet address, and try to get the best of Web3 and the best of Web2, which I think is a good hybrid. And again, to do that, you've got to understand what that means. You've got to understand what DNSSEC is. You've got to pair those two together. You've got to pay the gas to change your website. So there's a lot to understand rather than just saying, oh, I heard ENS names are great. You know what I mean? Get in there and understand it, but it does have that utility. So I like my ENS names. I actually just sold an ENS name for $200 on OpenSea. So there you go.
He's saying, sorry, Onion Store.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I see. Yeah. I think he's probably talking about the concept of something new having to win and take over. And again, if you've heard me anywhere, you've heard me say the ICANN public route is here to stay. What we're doing now is possible that we can communicate with the whole world on a domain name on the ICANN public route. That's here to stay. But have they been responsive enough to the needs of the community to control what happens next? And that's why I'm exploring Web3.
Beautiful. We've got one more question. To help facilitate more SLD sales on relevant TLDs, I want to develop my own SEO-based private blog network to leverage the Web2 crawling on Fleek IPFS sites. Any suggestions for web development?
Gotcha. Well, I don't have any suggestions for web developers or anything technical, but what you're talking about doing, babe, I'm going to lean in here. I'm going to lean into the mic. Focus. You've got a chance to be. When I got into the internet, there was the Yahoos and the broadbands of the world that sold for $6 billion. You've got a chance right now, if you can get in and be the search engine for Web3, the directory for Web3. You can be all the business models that worked in Web 2. There's no one in line potentially to be that for Web 3. And again, I'm not saying it's going to work or not, but if you're looking to make a name for yourself somewhere, it may exist that you can get in, understand, and be with a community of other people, right, baby? You've been in our VIP calls. People are trying to look forward and be positive and create. And hey, what can you do? And how can I benefit from collaborating with you? And then wait, if you can do that, then I can do this. And so the idea of what you're doing, of crawling, Fleek and IPS, I think it's fantastic. Why did people go to Yahoo? Why did people go to Google? Why did people go to all the other search engines back in the day? It was an easy way to find out what existed on the internet. And if you can show people an easy way to find out what exists in Web3, now, again, there's no one opening the door for you and saying, come in, I'll show you how to do it. You've got the opportunity to go build something in Web3, and you'll be alongside other developers doing the same thing. I think of the Firefox browser, because a lot of the other way to look at Web3 is when Linux came along compared to DOS. You know what I mean? It was a raw open source solution that did the same thing. And then someone did a browser like Firefox to compete with Navigator, and supposedly it was written over the weekend. So some of this stuff can be done and you can innovate fast. And if you deliver a better product and a better solution, there's a young, growing Web3 market out there ready to take your what you bring, right, baby? That'll take it and use it and publicize it and get it out there. So yeah, I would encourage you to do it, but I don't have any help on how or who to use.
Yeah, many people have been looking for this solution. Okay. Oh, he's saying I haven't found any WordPress, CMS equivalent, or a good Web3 search engine except Presearch. Any ideas for local business / real estate marketing on Web3? A Yelp equivalent or similar?
Yeah, this is the thing about this new world of Web3 is you're probably at the head of the line. There's no one to ask. You're leading. You're leading the pack. You know what I mean? You're coming up with a good idea that should work, but you're the leader. You're out in front of everybody. So there might not be as many places to get help. You might have to think of it yourself and put together different pieces. You know what I mean? But if you do it, then you're going to be the one that people say, any
I
ideas for a
actually,
local real estate marketing? And then they're going to say like, and then they're going to say your platform.
actually, I think I know a website. I don't know if it's similar to
Right.
exactly Yelp. It's called builda.dev. It has like Web3 projects, and you can like upvote, or I think it's only an upvote button like on Reddit.
Right. I think
I
that's
think
perfect. I think you start simple like that.
again it's builda build.dev. I'm not affiliated. I just like saw this the other day when reviewing websites and quests and Web3 stuff.
Well, fantastic. Well, we've covered a lot today. If you're watching the replay, um, thank you for staying with it. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate this platform. Why don't you give them the coupon one more time, and I think we'll wrap up.
Okay, the coupon is page 30. Hurry up before it runs out. I think for now it's going to be available for 1 hour. And if you're seeing this later on, don't worry. If you're new, you can sign up and get a coupon code as well. And you can join our Telegram chat. We'll be releasing announcement there about coupon codes and other fun stuff.
Yeah. And if I've
Okay.
gone too fast on what Freename is, they've also got some wonderful videos on YouTube that can start out at the very basics: how to register a name, how to connect your wallet, how to mint your wallet. Give Patrick some likes over there. He's done a really good job of taking you through in short little 3 to 4 minute videos of step 1, step 2, and step 3.
Before we end this, okay, More Than SEO is also asking one last question.
Gotcha. I got it. Yeah. In terms of selling to the general public, right now, I think you need to show at the same time you're selling. So you need to have at least one website live. On your example is .New Testament. You know what I mean? To show people the power of what it can be. Because then anyone who buys it, you might be able just to say, hey, it's .New Testament, it's a Web3 TLD, and it might sell. If it were me, I would get my buyer to download the Freename plugin, go see a sample site, you know what I mean, like my.New Testament or love.New Testament or agape.New Testament or something like that, and let them feel what it's like to see a domain name on this TLD. And then I think you'll have a better chance of them wanting to own that TLD. If you're really good at describing it, go for it. But I think right now to sell, you might need to also show. And again, it's easy. Show them how easy it is to download the plugin. Once they have the plugin, the websites on .New Testament look just like any other website. And then they can picture the benefits of maybe owning New Testament. So I would say show to help you sell.
Sorry about that. My cat is really hungry right now, and she's telling me, "I'm hungry. I want to give me food." But thank you for answering, Paige. And so tomorrow we have a space on X or Twitter called Domain Profits Unleashed, where we discuss domain profits and a lot about that, whether royalties or selling in domains in the general aspect. And it's gonna be tomorrow at 3 p.m. CET, as always. And do you have any goodbyes to tell the people, Paige?
Thanks for listening. Join us in 2 weeks, or join the Friday morning ones. I may pop in there too, as I do sometimes.
Ooh.
Um,
Yeah.
But really, at this time, what some people might call a crypto winter, there's ways to make money on fast-moving speculative digital assets, and in bull markets, maybe that's what you want to do. And maybe in a little bit of a slower market for action, get educated, learn about an asset. Even if you don't buy anything, you'll know when the time comes what you want to buy or what it means to own something. You got to feel what it means to own a Web3 TLD. got to feel what it owns to be a Web3 SLD, whether it's Freename platform or others. Until then, you're going to be hoping to get information from other people, but you're not going to know whether you trust it until you know what it's like to own one, for the good and for the bad.
Oh.
Thanks, Beba.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Paige. Okay, so this is it for today, guys. See you in the next one. We're going to be doing another live stream next week. Sorry, in 2 weeks. See you there and join our Telegram chat to stay updated. Bye bye.